Good afternoon and welcome to the Remote Workshop. We are two 100% remote working niche-based recruiters having conversations about doing business and remote business in this interesting time we're in. We're talking with folks in either civil infrastructure or IT automation. And all of our discussions can be found on the Remote Workshop YouTube channel. My name is Eric Stigge, and I place IT and automation resources in a variety of markets all over the country. My company is Converge Resources, and we were started in 2019.
My name is Blake Pellerin. I place civil engineers and land surveyors at consulting firms across Texas. And my company is called Civil Search Consultants, and we were founded in 2017. So last time we were chatting with Eric and I were speaking with Jeff Digpin, who is an old friend and colleague of ours. This time we're chatting with Ahmed Valdez, who we have here. Ahmed is the founder and president of AKV Consulting Engineers here in Houston. They're a civil engineering firm. He's also the founding president of the Houston section of the American Society of Highway Engineers, or ASHE, and is also the past president the current past president of the Houston Hispanic Architects and Engineers here in Houston, HHAE, as well. Ahmed, welcome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, so Ahmed, correct me if I misspoke anywhere there, but could you just give us a basic rundown of your company, of AKV, and your role there and what you guys do?
Well, AKV was founded in 2018, so we're a couple of months shy of being 2 years old. We are predominantly a civil structural engineering firm on the public side, mostly transportation and municipal services, but we also do private development like site plan, land development, and structural engineering.
Cool. And so who are your biggest clients that you're working with right now?
Our biggest clients are TxDOT, Harris County, and the Metropolitan Transit Authority here in Houston.
Metro, okay. And for TxDOT, is that primarily the Houston district, or is that districts all over the state?
It's a statewide.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. And so how would you say, for yourself anyway, either for yourself or within the company itself, how would you define success for your firm?
So what I tell my guys all the time that I just ask for progress, especially civil engineering. Even our insurance requirements are called errors and omissions. Nothing's gonna be perfect, right? So if you make progress, as you get better every day, that's gonna take care of everything else. And the definition of success also varies depending on where you are in your career, right? Some people are like myself, a driven person that wants to start their own company early in their career, and other people they rather have work for somebody else or be involved in only engineering but not business development, and that's okay. So everybody has its own path. Once you decide what you want to do, and I think the communication to know what your employees want, it's going to help you make them successful. But in general, to me, it's progress. If they're making progress every day, they'll get there. One step.
Gotcha. So it's not necessarily, meeting, and I'm sure there are, financial goals that are in there and different scopes of, I guess, stages of projects that you're getting to, and those are, I'm sure, part of it. But like you say, just progress in general. Yeah. So you've worked at, shops here in Texas that are pretty, well known, like Bridge Farmer and H&TV, RPS. How did you, I guess, when you started to start up the firm in general, what were kind of some of the, I guess, the big hurdles that you had to get over to start your own firm and get into like a working regular process?
Well, I mean, it's been a hell of a ride. I knew it was going to be tough, but like, you had to become your own IT, your own accountant, your own human resources, and then you start doing things and hoping that you don't mess up. But like, and that's what helped me even, going back to the previous question, because I've been hitting walls like every single day, and then I get better at something. I figured out how to do it. I feel comfortable about it, and then on to the next one. If I were to define success as like getting everything up, I shoot for it, right? Getting everything up to speed from the get go. I couldn't have done it, for the past 2 years. It's been very frustrating, but knowing that's what's coming, that it's not easy. You gotta get over the hump, and every day get back and battle with it. So the engineering part, to be honest with you, it's the easy part. It's the reason why I decided to start my own business. Say I can do this. I have some experience in business development. Even on IT, I had a little bit of experience, but then you start realizing how much you were relying on other people, and how
Yeah.
really you only knew a small percentage, and that's what and it's just like wearing a lot of hats and pushing through and making it to the next day, really, until you get a solid foundation for yourself and for the employees that came in later.
Right. Right. How many employees are you guys now?
Four, well, five. We have an intern now. So,
Oh, great. Through who's the intern through?
um, it was through a friend, U of
Oh,
H. She's from U of H.
yeah.
She came on board like 3 weeks ago, so you can imagine how interesting that was.
Yeah.
Still is.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Eric, did you have a question in
No,
there? Okay.
no, it was rather funny.
Yeah.
Starting somebody in this time must be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, we did get a chance to interview her in person. We made the offer, and then she was gonna be available before the end of the semester. It's a summer internship, but she's like, I can work earlier, in March, and I can start working a few hours. And we thought that was great. Then we stopped going to the office in the middle of March and working remotely. So I was like, how are we gonna do these? And eventually, what we did, we set up a laptop for her, mail her a key, and then just leave it at the front door. It's like there's a bag there, everything that you need, it's in there. A couple of monitors, your laptop. Pick it up, and we're gonna send you instructions. So the first day was tough. I mean, we were trying to figure out all the kinks and issues, but we finally got it to work. So I mean, definitely a lot of time on our end to set that up, as if she was just going to join and sit in one of our workstations. It would have been a whole lot easier, but just gotta roll with the punches.
Yeah. Um, so what was obviously we're talking about the COVID-19 pandemic situation. So it sounds like your regular activity during a weekday or work day or the work week was, so it was definitely different than it is now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Back in
Okay.
the day, I'll say 50-50, maybe 50% business development, meeting clients, attending professional society meetings, and 50% what we call billable work, right? Like doing the actual projects, giving instructions to the employees, working on the plans. Um, but so, I mean, sometimes business development was even more, and we kind of like worked that around on our workload. or the need, if there were a lot of events that we thought that would be good for the company to be represented, so we'll make an effort on that. And it was just always a balance. But like I'll say overall, it used to be about 50-50.
And when you're for AKV, whenever you're going like to an ASHI meeting or HHAE or anything else, that's more like on the networking side of things and maybe some technical sessions. Do you usually try to get everybody in the office out together, or do you usually, is it usually just, I mean, you are the face of the company, so is it usually just you, or do you try to bring everyone out?
So I've taken everybody to different societies, mostly HHAE and ASHI. But if we have a client that it's attending it's a guest speaker on another professional society, we'll take our team there. But then after that, we want to kind of like join different societies based on their strength. Because of our size, I wouldn't say that. That our guys are specialized, like they're not like hydrologists or only structural. They do a little bit of everything. There's a lot of cross training, but at the same time, they do spend more time on one area. So if I had somebody doing a lot of um, structural work, maybe 70% of the time, and then he can jump in and help with transportation or even red marks for any project, then I'll want that person to join a structural professional society. At the end of the day, it's their decision, but I try to guide them because when I first started my career, I think I attended 3 professional society meetings in 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's like it's been day and night from the beginning of my career to now. So I do try to encourage them. I try to mentor them and kind of like explain to them benefits and also to do something that they like, right? If they're not interested in it, if they don't see a return investment for themselves, not just for the company. So I don't think it'll be a good investment for either one. So, but at the end, it's their decision.
Sure, yeah. I remember, and it's funny that you mentioned you went to 3 meetings in 5 years, because when I met you, you were getting ASHI off the ground as the founding president. And so that just strikes me as hilarious because you were Mr. ASHI at that point to me anyway. And and I again really appreciate how welcoming and encouraging you were to me to get involved, because I was just starting my business at that time, and you were really encouraging to me to get involved. Me, a lowly outside recruiter sort of thing too. So man, I always really appreciated that too. So thanks. So I'm sure that your people really appreciate that. But anyway, okay. So as the pandemic has kind of set in, and I guess at this point we're kind of seeing a lot of different back to work, back to business sort of movement. And obviously we'll be figuring things out as we go here. And I don't think we're going back to normal. There's probably going to be a new normal, and that'll be evolving and all that. But what is your 50-50 before? What's your work week or day looking like these days?
So now I think it's like 80% billable, just working on actual projects. 10% business development, because all I can do is pick up the phone and call somebody that I have a close relationship and see if there are any opportunities. Even government agencies, they're still doing procurement, but it has slowed down a little bit, so there are not as many coming out. At least because their priority change right there. At the moment, it's I think a lot of the work still funded. It's just that they had to set up their own system too to be able to work remotely. So that slowed down everybody. And so we've been getting a lot of, like, our private work slowed down big time. I guess that's the first thing that slows down, right? but we've been getting a lot of requests for proposals. So that's just like, I think that's a good thing that it hasn't turned into anything concrete, but we've been developing even relationships that way with the potential to come to something at some point. And with the additional time that I have, and even some of our employees, what we do is we're trying to put a little bit of time into our processes. Like every time you're busy, you're like, I don't have time. We need to have a better process to do this or to do that. And we're working towards that. So that's about 10% of my time where we are looking at what we're doing, and we're optimizing our processes so we can deliver a better product.
Yeah, that's and that's one I keep seeing. Everybody's got. Obviously, we jumped on the bandwagon a little bit, but everybody's got kind of a webinar of some sort going out. I think I got Eric and I. We use the CRMs that a lot of recruiters use, and sometimes there's some some software stack solutions that they put together. And so a lot of them are talking about how to improve your stack during this downturn, during this strange situation, because now's the time to do things like that when it's not as hair on fire crazy, I guess, in terms of putting some stuff out there. Let me ask you just I guess maybe your personal opinion on the work with tech, because that you talk about the private stuff, I think being the first to kind of dry up a little bit. But it seems to me, I mean, all the stuff that I've been to at ASHE and anything where they've talked about transportation funding, I mean, obviously there's the UTP, the Unified Transportation Plan, where, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's basically the plan for the next 10 years of transportation. Yeah. So do you see that? And is that a rolling 10 years? Is it allocated for the next 10 years from TxDOT, from the Transportation Commission, or?
Well, it is planned. It's not. It's updated every year. So for the last 4 or 5 years, that number, it's been increasing. I think 2020 was like $70-something billion.
Yeah.
So about 7-8 billion, but like the year before, it was maybe 60-something billion. So I'm probably thinking that 2021 maybe reduce, but then maybe by 2022 things get better. It'll come back up.
Yeah.
It's just because it's a mid-range plan. So I don't know how much of it. It definitely affects like what's like right now within the next year, but because if it's 10 years ahead, they had some room to play with. Some of the money, it's under the assumption that it's going to be a partnership with the federal government. So with all this stimulus, I don't know if the federal government is going to change any of that, and that's going to affect the UTP. So there are a lot of factors that play into it, but like anything that is going on right now, I think it's not going to affect it right away.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah. I wasn't ever. Well, I guess I didn't really dig into it before, but I wasn't sure if that UTP was. I knew it was planned, obviously, but I wasn't sure how much of that was allocated and set aside. Of course, you can't. If our assumptions change based on nobody's driving, so there's not going to be any tax revenue on gas, for example, then you gotta figure something out there, or leave the room to play with. So, and you may have already gotten into this, but what then would you say is your biggest challenge that you're facing currently, or challenges, and what are you doing about it?
Well, so I'll say one of our biggest challenges has been communication, because we had 2 PEs, myself and another PE with 10 years of experience. Everybody else, it's like 0 and 2. So when you're a graduate engineer, you rely a lot on mentorship. So it's good to have them in the office. Probably people that are 4 or 5 years of experience or more, they're more equipped to work independently. So figuring out a way to keep the office engaged, if you will, it's been a challenge. And for that, at the same time, how can you do that um, economically? Because we're a small company, and when we set up our server, we set it up in a way that will be scalable. It was we could make a big investment into a full-blown server, and then, well, you only have this little bit of money coming in, so it didn't make any sense. So we had something short-term for probably and then we'll scale up. So, but we're using a lot of hardware, but the way we got around it is that um, we we have enough computers that we're remoting to our own computers, um, so that we can use the server, as opposed to remote directly into the server, because we can't do that with the server that we have. The server works perfect when you are in the office, but it's not really meant for to work remotely. And the issue with it in civil engineering, especially with CAD files, that's the biggest thing. You had all these properties and all these files that everybody has to be able to access. You can potentially copy that information and bring it back, but it brings a lot of issues. So it's mainly for the production side of things. If you're going to work on a spreadsheet or even design, you can copy the files, put it in your desktop, and put it back. But it's mainly the production side that it's really what forces us to figure out a way. How can we access the server live? But not only that, how can we do it efficiently and within budget, basically.
So you have a physical server at your office then?
Yes.
Okay, and so you're, I guess, just trying to figure out how, and are you guys using some sort of system on the individual computers or laptops of people's homes to where they can remote in? Is that, what kind of system is that called, where they can?
Well, we're using a Google Remote, so it's free.
Huh. Okay. And Google Remote's just something that helps you access that server there?
Yes. So yeah, you set up. We create a separate account. You can do it with your regular Gmail, but we set up a separate account for each computer, and you have to make sure the computer is on at all times. So we turn off the sleep mode, and you just go to Google Remote, pick the computer, type a password, and you're in.
Nice.
And we're able to work with two monitors, so it's like it's the same interface. It's like it's and we started doing that a couple of days, well, a few days here and there early this year. So and that's how we knew that we could do it. But before that, with our server, we will access it, had to download the files and put them back in. That's as much as we could do with our server. But if we remote the computer, and we had enough computers for it. So that was the beauty of it. We had a few laptops, so everybody is. There was not an investment on the hardware because we already had it.
Right.
If we didn't, then that would have been an issue. But we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. One of the first firms that I worked with in recruiting, we actually, their home office was in London. And so everything was actually, so our computers that we had in Houston were actually remoted into the server in London. And it was interesting. It was like basically our computers were terminals. So we didn't have like a CPU. They were just basically terminals that were remoted in. And at least across the pond, so to speak, the latency could be a major issue. And so sometimes that was kind of annoying. Are you guys seeing any of that, any of those issues really, or?
Not really. I was surprisingly pleased that it was almost like if you were there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
and I'm talking about 10 years ago too, so technology is a little bit different.
when you're working on production, the ability to have full size monitors, I'm talking like 22, 24-inch monitors, it's a must.
Yeah.
So I mean, right now I'm working off my laptop and I have monitors because they dry and you need more be able to see all the details. And so that needed to happen. We needed to be able to use dual monitors for it to be efficient. Otherwise, we're going to have to figure out a different way about it.
Right. Yeah, it's just funny. I got my laptop here and big wide monitor right here too. So I believe it. I believe that it would be super important. Okay, so in your remote work that you guys are doing, and I wasn't sure how much you were in office versus working remotely as a company as a whole, but it looks like y'all are a lot of the times. I mean, y'all are based in the office for sure. But so at this time, are there any big notable successes that you that either have caught your attention or caught you by surprise? Just anything recently happened that you're proud about or want to bring up?
Well, because a lot of our work, a portion of our work slowed down, and the uncertainty that came during these times, I was really proud that we were able to make it work without having to make a major investment. Because imagine, the cash flow coming in slows down or stop, and then in order to be able to stay afloat or be able to do production, you're going to have to make an investment. So we didn't have to do that, and I don't think we're sacrificing efficiency either. So I think it's a big success. Our biggest challenge has been with our intern because she basically did the onboarding from her house, right? Like
Right.
she never got a chance to experience, the office culture and develop relationships with other people. And you know, um, uh, we tried to check on her, and not just about work. I think we've been able to develop a long distance relationship, if you will, where she feels comfortable with the team. Um, because besides the interview and a couple of follow up phone calls, that's all the interaction that we had with her. So I think she feels part of the team, and we made it a point to dedicate some time to develop that relationship as opposed to whenever we have a conference call with Teams or TeamViewer or any other software that we use, where we will talk about work. Maybe break that as an icebreaker so she'll feel more comfortable, especially because this is her first job in engineering.
Yeah.
So imagine how tough that's for her. I mean, it may be some issues for us, but for her, it's I can't imagine going through that. When you're in college and then your first job is like, okay, I'm working from my house.
Right.
So we make it a point to try to develop that relationship beyond the technical aspects with her, and I think so far it's been successful.
That's good. That's good. That's yeah, it's hard to, and that's one thing that we're coming across a lot too. Is sure there are some companies that are having a tough time right now and just don't feel like they can responsibly hire anyone. But then there's other firms. It sounds like yours, like AKV, that they could and need to hire people, but they're really concerned about getting that not just a cultural fit, but then fitting them in culturally. Like actually develop, like showing them what the culture of the company is about. Because when you don't have that daily interaction with them, that's, face to face and at the same place, it can be, it can be a challenge. So it sounds like you guys are working through that.
Well, in my opinion, in order to shy away from it, this is just a fast track to the future. This is what's coming. And maybe not, maybe it'll go back to semi-normal after the pandemic, but in 5 years, in 10 years, it's going in that direction. Like so why not take the challenge and see what you can do. And I've heard from in the industry that some companies have decided to I guess withdraw the offers for interns because of this situation. And I understand that, and each company may be in a different situation, but for us, it was an opportunity to take a challenge and see how we can do better. Obviously it's not ideal conditions, but that happens all the time. It's like, I think, and this is going back to our early conversation about progress. It's either you're going to shy away from something that it's new to you, or you're going to be at the front end of in a leading position where you can figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah.
And in our case, we are limited financially because of our size, but there are other tools that you can use, and we decided to exploit those to better the company, and also in this case our new intern.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a time to kind of differentiate and show what you can do under stressful times or times of change. So cool. Well, okay, so is there a tool, either a technological tool or a concept or a strategy that you've leveraged in this time that you feel like was and we've talked about a number of them, but that you feel like was a game changer for you guys, or has been a game changer?
Well, I think for me in particularly, because I've been doing Teams, Zoom, TeamViewer, all these platforms and I think because there was not a real need in the past, or you're like, well, I'll just show up in person, or I don't have to. This goes back to the 10% that we're spending on our processes, also on the tools that we use. So I won't be able to name a single one of them, but it's just like getting better and understanding them better, and then you decide which one did you want to use internally, and I think that's been a good thing for us, being able to dive into a lot of these tools that some of them have been around for a while, others are like coming up, and it's just getting we're doing better, we're bettering ourselves through this process. So I think it's like everything, it's like the growing pains, but I think I think we're taking the best out of it.
Yeah, progress one step at a time.
Yep.
Cool. Well, we're about to wrap up, I think, Ahmed, but you got anything else you want to add, or anything like that just before we sign off?
No, I just want to let you guys that I appreciate you guys having me here, and I enjoy talking to you guys, and it's interesting once you go through. Sometimes you're on an autopilot, and you just do what you gotta do, right? And these questions have helped me do a lot of like introspection, see, and really take a look at what we've been doing that we were just doing it and feeling it out as we go. And now, like, because a lot of this is looking back at 6 weeks, right? Looking back
Yeah.
6 weeks, and even in 6 weeks, we've come a long way. So, I mean, we're not where we want to be, but definitely we make a lot of progress.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, yeah, appreciate you coming on to chat with us. And do you want to just share a little here? I'm going to share your email address here, but is there any other place where people should go to learn more about you or AKV or ASHE, HHE, anything you want to plug in there?
Yeah, we do have a website, akvce.com, and also we have a LinkedIn profile as AKV. So if anybody wants to check them out.
Sounds good. Well, that's good. Well, anyone, within TxDOT or Metro or City of Houston or developers, any other folks that need some primarily structural engineering, but you guys do transportation and drainage work too, I think?
No, I mean, we do both, 50-50,
Yeah.
civil, structural.
Cool. Well, sounds good. Well, then that sounds good. And Eric, you want to take us out here?
Sure. Well, thanks for checking out Remote Workshop. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to be notified about when there's new discussions. Whether you're watching via YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, feel free to ask questions, feedback, comments, concerns, and then feel free to reach out directly. Of course, if you're either in civil infrastructure, IT automation, want to jump in for a chat, please reach out. Next time, to be determined. Have a good day, everyone.